We are grateful for this opportunity to host these cafes. We hope it encourages all multiple stakeholders to learn more about each candidate and their backgrounds and their visions that they have for Multnomah County Chair. As a 501(c) nonprofit, it is important for us to note that we do not endorse any candidates. We feel like it's our civic engagement and advocacy for the community that we work for. That's why we're holding these cafes. This is important for us to be able to give a safe space for candidates to be able to come in and share what they're going to offer in this new role that they would be able to operate from the Multnomah County Chair. And with that, and we've set our ground rules, we ask that you be respectful. We thank you again for coming to be here with us, and we'll turn it over to Jessica Vega Pederson. Thank you.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. It is really great to be here. Thank you, Lydia, for the invitation and opening up this space and this time for us to be together today. I'm Jessica Vega Pederson. I use she, her pronouns. I'm currently the Multnomah County Commissioner in District 3, which includes much of East Portland and Southeast Portland. And I'm really excited about the opportunity to tell you a little bit about who I am and what my vision is for Multnomah County and my serving in the role of chair. I do know some of you today, but some of you are folks that I don't know yet. So it's really nice to have this opportunity. So I guess I'll just get started, talking a little bit about where I'm from. When my husband and I got married and we were ready to start our family 16 years ago, we bought our home in East Portland. It was the part of Multnomah County where we could afford, where we knew that we could be part of this community, and it just felt like home to me. And the fact that there were like 3 places within walking distance of my house to buy tamales and pan dulces did not hurt at all. But this is the house that we've been in ever since. It's the same house, it's the same block, but this is a rapidly changing community. And when I look back at what East Portland was 16 years ago and what it's become, it's really no surprise that this community called to me. It was once a suburban unincorporated area of our county, and now it is a diverse and densely populated and thriving part of our city and our county. And this is a very, it's an area where we've made up of people from all over the world, people who really are working hard to better this community, but oftentimes they're also working hard just to keep their heads above water. And I understand this community because I am part of this community. I am a proud East Portlander. I was actually born in a small Indiana town, just about an hour outside of Chicago, part of a large Mexican-American family there. I'm so proud to be a Latina, and I'm so proud now to be an Oregonian. I have been a lifelong community volunteer and community activist. I did spend 14 years in the business sector as a technology project manager, and the last 10 years I've had the privilege of serving as a public servant. I'm very proud to have been the first Latina to serve in Oregon's House, and just the third Latina Multnomah County Commissioner. I know when I heard about who was going to be in this group, I knew that everybody was here today because we care about Multnomah County. We care about the people who live in Multnomah County. And I think we all recognize that Multnomah County needs strong leadership today. We are at a very critical inflection point in what kind of county, what kind of region we're going to be. And we need a leader who feels the challenges that our county faces, who sees a path forward, and who's going to be able to weave together a coalition to meet this moment and to create that change that we desperately need. And that is why I'm running for county chair, because it's the work that I've been doing right here in this community for the past 16 years. I have never, ever done it alone. My leadership always starts with a broad table that includes communities that are most impacted by the issues at hand. And it also starts by not demonizing the other side, but with the realization that there isn't another side. There's only real people who are trying to fix a problem in their own neighborhoods, in their own communities. And that's been true since I started this kind of work. I ran my first campaign on sidewalks, really about the lack of infrastructure and the dangerous speeds that people drive through my East Portland neighborhood. And my experience was that the seemingly small issue of sidewalks was really part of a much bigger one. It was a reflection of the pieces of our community that have gone unheard and forgotten. And those sidewalks were a small piece of a bigger investment and a bigger movement in East Portland, in this corner of Multnomah County that had been left behind and forgotten for too long. And the community came together to support my first campaign, and we were able to make waves with my election. We got sidewalks, and we got a whole lot more for the people of East Portland. And I brought that power building approach to every issue I've tackled, both at the state legislature and on the county commission. When I was in Salem, I championed initiatives to bring paid sick leave to every Oregon worker, worked to ensure that our kids have safe toys, worked for retirement security that ensures that fewer people, particularly women, will face poverty as they age. I was so proud of the work that I did to help raise Oregon's minimum wage, and the bill that I put forward to pass a domestic workers' bill of rights. I championed a person's right to make their own healthcare decisions, including abortion, LGBTQIA+ equity in healthcare and in the legal system. And I fought for quality education from preschool to higher ed, and to extend tuition equity and financial aid for dreamers. Since I've been at the county, I will say the work that I'm probably most proud of is being part of the coalition that delivered preschool to all for our region. And my desire to expand preschool came from the experience that my mom had when she was a young Mexican-American girl. When my mom was in 4th grade, she earned the highest score in a school district-wide aptitude test. And this was like the score that should have put my mom on like a track to, gifted and talented classes and pre-college and all of that. But because she was a Mexican-American kid who wasn't expected to achieve academically, she didn't even learn about that score until years later. And it didn't change her life. It didn't change the trajectory the way it could have. She was talking with her high school guidance counselor, who asked her why she hadn't been on the college prep track based on that score. And when I heard that story, it broke my heart. But it also made me so angry for my mom and for kids like my mom who are discounted, whose families aren't respected, whose families aren't included in their process because of language barriers, because of cultural barriers. And it really lit a fire in me that fuels all the work that I do, but especially the work around preschool for all, because I know the same inequalities have continued to impact generations of kids. And I am so proud of how our preschool for all work paid off. It is going to change what's possible for our children, including those like my mom, because I believe our best future lies not only in what we do, but in how we do it. I've proven that I can get things done, but I also look really closely at what coalition feels like and who's at the table, as well as just what it can yield. When we were working on preschool for all, we worked with really fierce Black and brown and moms of color. We had the Democratic Socialists, we had the Portland Business Alliance, we had school districts, we had preschool providers and workers. We had community-based organizations. We had a lot of folks on there, and it was great that we were able to get everyone rowing in the same direction, and preschool for all sailed to victory. And in the next 4 years, when we look at Multnomah County, we need to be able to meet our challenges with proven collaborative leadership. We are facing challenges of the size and the complexity that require it. And I do say, I also want to take a moment to say, we are also right now in this moment facing false narratives and shouting from the sidelines from folks who say that our problems are so big that they can't be solved, or who are only presenting solutions through fear, through vitriol, and through division. And, my take on those things are 2 things. First, division has never solved a single problem, and it is certainly not going to solve the challenges here before us. Demonizing people struggling with addiction, with houselessness, is not going to help them get into housing, and harassing our community is not going to make it safer. And I will also say those naysayers underestimate the power of our ability to come together and get work done. I don't, and that's exactly why I'm here, and that's exactly why I'm running for county chair. From our housing and houselessness crisis to our efforts to address the climate crisis to achieving a just economic recovery from COVID, we need comprehensive solutions to address the urgency of the issues before us. When it comes to housing and houselessness, we need a comprehensive approach that leverages the resources of the Supporting Housing Services measure passed in 2020 and recognizes the challenges facing us immediately, with so many people sleeping outside each night in Multnomah County. We need to ensure that every county resident has access to housing, supportive housing if necessary, and make sure our streets are safe for everyone again. We need to expand the type of shelter programs we do so that those who are currently sleeping on our streets are safe. But we also need to be investing in long-term housing because we know that's the true solution for solving houselessness. We need to deepen our partnerships with community-based organizations and leverage state and federal and local resources to help deal with the trash problem that's been exacerbated by the pandemic. And this was really my position when I fought for an unprecedented package of investments in partnership with the city of Portland to help address houselessness just this fall, where we were able to continue the work that we had done by the investments of the supportive housing services measure, but also have additional dollars into addressing some of the crisis and the emergency that was on our street. I'm really proud to have been part of the team that created and passed those investments because people in need cannot wait. I've also done a lot of work within my community on the terrible surge in gun violence. And this is something that I've experienced directly during the summer of 2020. My family and I witnessed a shooting right in front of our house. And the gunshots still ring out far too frequently in East Portland and many other parts of the city. And my work on this issue really focuses on investing county resources in critical intervention and prevention programs that support families and support individuals that are impacted by gun violence. And I'm a firm believer in fostering the opportunities for youth at risk of gun violence. I've engaged directly with families, with neighbors, with business owners, with the community organizations that are ready to work together to tackle this issue. And as chair, I'm going to continue those efforts. While still continuing to strengthen our collaboration between Multnomah County and our jurisdictional our jurisdictional partners as we address this issue. I think that this is something that we, just like Preschool for All, we have to be investing upstream in people. We have to be addressing the underlying issues of poverty. We have to be addressing the underlying issues of lack of opportunity for education and jobs. And I believe Multnomah County has a big role to be playing in that. I also know that we are facing a public right now that's frustrated with what they're seeing in government for me, I think it's important to seize the opportunities that we'll have to prioritize good governance through transparency and through accountability. We have to be bringing online better data, better communication, better reporting about how we are addressing some of the issues that people are concerned about. I think that we have been doing a lot of work, and I don't think people know a lot about that work. And I think that's part of our issue is that we haven't been working together to tell the stories and to show the results that we're getting. And I know a lot of you here are on the front lines doing that work every day. And I think Multnomah County can be a better partner in helping to tell those stories. We need to ensure that taxpayer investments and things like the Preschool for All, the library bond are put to best use, because I think that's one of the ways that we're going to start rebuilding people's trust in government, in our democratic process, that we're all stronger and better for. So as we are at this inflection point, I firmly believe that your Multnomah County Chair should be a proven leader in times when we're facing these unprecedented challenges. And she should also feel like your advocate, no matter who you are or what part of Multnomah County you're from. I have the track record, the experience, the accomplishments, and the background to meet this moment and to lead Multnomah County in the right direction. As a Latina, as a mother, as an East Portland resident of 16 years, I also have the life experience to lead with compassion by centering those most impacted by the inequalities we face. By bringing more voices to the table, I have proven that we can get big things done. And I have a huge group of people I know who are with me in this fight. I have the support of over 100 organizations and community leaders so far in this race, including Ask Me, UFCW, the Portland Firefighters, APANO, Latino Network, the Oregon League of Conservation Voters, the Portland Association of Teachers, Oregon Working Families Party. I have the endorsements of former Governor Barbara Roberts, Secretary of State Shemia Fagan, City Commissioner Carmen Rubio, Representative Con Pham, Candace Alvalos, Cameron Ritten, Paul Lumley, so many others who are joining me in this race. And I have a broad grassroots donor base. Over 350 people have contributed to support my campaign. And I'm so looking forward to engaging in a conversation with you. We're asking for your questions. I would love you to join my team, to join this work that we're doing and to be a part of the effort to help me win this race for Multnomah County Chair. I need your passion, I need your insights, I need your experience so that together we can build the thriving, the equitable Multnomah County that we all deserve. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here, Jessica. And right now we're going to open it up to questions. So I'll pass it over to Ms. Leslie, who's going to lead us from here. Thank you, guys.
Hi, everyone. As a reminder, just put your questions in the chat and we'll call, or raise your hand and we can call on you. The first question that we have is from Vicky Wolf, and it reads, I live in the Roseway Madison neighborhood, and we have had 4 gun-related deaths in 8 months and even more shootings. What is your position on the current gun violence and homicides on 82nd, resulting divestment of local businesses in our neighborhood and safety issues of our youth whom attend McDaniel High School?
Yeah, gun violence is impacting all of us across the city, across the county in really significant ways. And I don't want to like ever minimize the impact that is having on people who have been impacted by gun violence, whether it is somebody who, a student who is in a classroom when they hear bullets, whether it's somebody who has been a victim of gun violence or somebody who is just witnessing that. It's something that's affecting all of us. You know, I believe that the people who are doing gun violence need to be held accountable for what they're doing. And we need better partnership with the police to be investigating these crimes and resources with the district attorney's office to be able to prosecute those crimes. That being said, I don't think that we need the investments or we don't need to have a type of policing where we are punishing people or we are investigating people before any crime has been committed. I do not think that is the correct role. And I think we need to have a lot more resources in things like the budget amendments that I fought for just this last budget season session, where I got $300,000 into small community-facing organizations to do direct intervention and mentoring services. That is exactly the kind of community based work that we need to continue to invest in more and more at Multnomah County. There is an effort that I'm looking at for this budget session that's called Advanced Peace, that is looking at how we really integrate with deeply into the community and provide supports, including financial supports, to help people be stabilized so that they don't have to think that that violence or criminal activity isn't an option or an answer for them, right? And I've worked really closely with a lot of community-based organizations to continue that work, and we need to deepen that. So that being said, I do think that people, we have to be doing all that work, and we have to be holding people accountable for the danger that's on our streets right now. And so I think that it has to be a balance.
Thank you. Our next question is from Tony Bernal, and he thanks you for being here and asks, what is your position on the potential People for Portland ballot initiative? And anticipating your answer, what are you willing to do to help defeat it?
So that was good. I'm not supportive of the People for Portland ballot. So that was a good call. I know, and I talked about this in my opening statement, like people are frustrated right now. The situation on our streets is painful. It's painful for people who are living outside. It's unsafe for people who are living outside. And I think people who are living housed are also feeling frustration. But this ballot measure is not the right solution. It is, I called it in the Willamette Week article, I said, this is more of a straitjacket than a solution. We need to continue to help get people safely off the streets, but requiring a 75% of the Metro housing measures money, supportive housing services measures money to go to emergency shelters is going to come at the expense of behavioral health services. It's going to be coming at the expense of prevention, which is keeping people from becoming homeless in the first place. The long-term regional rental assistance program that we're having for the first time because of this measure. We have to do more to break the cycle of homelessness, and we have to be changing our structures so that we don't find ourselves in this situation again. We have to be building more housing. But this measure is not a right solution at all. And one of the things about it that makes me especially uncomfortable, like just and even if it wasn't, even if I agreed with more of the policy, the fact that they have the same mechanism of the Texas anti-abortion law that allows anybody to sue if they don't agree with how the program is being implemented, that's just asking for lawsuits and chaos here in this region. And we do not need that coming here. So I am willing to, I mean, I've already come out publicly in the media that I do not support this measure. I will continue to do that. And I'm going to continue to talk about this on the campaign trail. You know, this is something that I think is also time to be on the November ballot when there's a high profile governor's race happening. And I think a lot, and I also question the motives of the political motivations of having this on the ballot at that time as well. So yes, good question.
Thank you, Jessica. Yeah, our next question is from Andy. Andy, you can go ahead.
Thanks, Leslie. Thanks for moderating this, Lydia. Thank you for kicking us off today. Commissioner, thanks for being here. I'm Andy Nelson with Impact Northwest. Really psyched that we're having this good conversation about these really important topics that matter. And thanks for your comments so far. I totally agree that everyone is frustrated. Part of that frustration, actually a growing amount of that, is being directed towards nonprofit social service providers, many of whom are hosting the call today. So organizations doing good work, SCI, TPI, Northwest Pilot Project, Impact Northwest are hearing it, that we're becoming sort of part of the problem. The county itself has a great history, as you know, of partnering with nonprofits to deliver the social safety net. And as a community action organization for our region, a proud tradition of that. But it feels like that work isn't well understood, that folks don't know the results. And what we'd love in a new chair is someone who can really be our champ, to be out there promoting that work and telling that story. So love to hear your vision and thoughts around how we can change the narrative that is pretty dangerous right now.
Yeah, thank you, Andy. And I think that your question really points to another part of that, of the People for Portland ballot measure that I didn't mention, which is the fact that they're calling into question, you know, conflicts of interest and who is going to be able to decide how this money is being spent, which really, you know, when you look at who's excluded then from accountability on this advisory committee, it narrows it very much on who is actually going to be able to serve there, to people who have really not necessarily any knowledge or background in the services that are being provided or the work that needs to be done. So I think that goes into that as well. You know, I see the Multnomah County Chair really is the third most impactful elected official in our state. Like, we have the governor, on a good day we have the Portland mayor, and then we've got like the Multnomah County Chair, right? Like and you know, the Multnomah County Chair is in charge of this organization. Like, it is a strong chair, so they really have a lot of say, unlike our current city system, right? And so I take stepping into this role very seriously, meaning that not only do I have a responsibility for the functioning and the work of the Multnomah County government, but also as a elected official, I have a big soapbox and megaphone to be able to talking about issues of raising awareness. And so I think not just defending, but promoting the good work that Multnomah County and our partners is doing is part of that job. It means getting out into the community and talking about it with people who may not have that insight, like folks in the business community or you know, neighborhood associations or things like that, who don't understand actually the work that's being done. It is about investing, honestly, in a communications team that is telling our stories and that is resourced to be capturing like really great work that's being done and sharing that out into the media, on social media. And I think it's partnering with you all to be able to tell those stories too. So I always say that we are not anything at Multnomah County without our employees who are doing the work that fulfills the mission of Multnomah County. I believe that. It's, I think, why I won the endorsement of our county employees with Ask Me Local 88. I feel the same way about our community partners that we're contracting with to do this work in the community as well. We cannot do this work without you. We're never going to have a county government the size to take on all this work that needs to be done. And so having a strong partnership and having having each other's backs, honestly, as we move forward is, I think, is an important piece of this.
Thank you for that. Our next question is from Laura Golino de Lovato. Go ahead.
Hi, thanks, Leslie. And thank you, Commissioner Vega Pederson. Good to see you. Thanks for being here today. Thanks to Impact Northwest for hosting this. Just sort of a follow-up, you created a great segue to my question. As Andy said, and as you responded to that, the social service providers throughout all the departments at Multnomah County provide a key range of services, and they are partners with the county. I think that I can speak to my agency. Certainly Northwest Pilot Project sees itself as a partner with the county. And I think you said it very well when you said that Multnomah County can't do all of this work without our service provision contribution and without this partnership. As you may know, a group of us have come to the county and talked with the chair's office about wages at social service organizations, wages relative to housing costs, to general cost of living. And we are anxious to, further communicate with the county and talk about how we might work toward the goal of elevating wages within the social service sector throughout the county. And I was hoping you could share with us some of your thoughts about that, about the trajectory and the timeline of how we get there. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Laura. I know that this has been an issue that's come up for a long time, and it's one that's it's a really important question, and it's an important issue that we have to address. So I was the interim executive director at Hacienda CDC for a while. I don't know if many folks know that. It was brief when they were in their search, but one of the things that was important to me was to know what was the wages that were being paid to our employees, what kind of benefits did they have. Because this work is hard work. This work takes an emotional toll on people, and it takes a financial toll on people to be able to do this work, and making sure that we have the right supports there. I've heard from folks again and again that, especially folks who have had contracts with Multnomah County for a long time, that the contracts, the amount that's being put forward in the contracts with Multnomah County are not enough to pay workers a living wage, and we're losing people, and sometimes you're losing people to the county to as we do this work. And so I know it's an issue. I have seen the proposal of having a not just a cost of living increase, but really a graduated bump up. I would love to look more about that. I think that as county chair, my goal is to win this election in May. That is what we are aiming for. I would love to win it outright in May, to have those next 9 months to really be digging into our budget, into our contracts, into how the work is being done at a detailed level that I don't get to do as a commissioner. But I think looking at our budget, knowing that in the next several years we are projecting to have increased revenues, and not deficits, but actually some surpluses, of how we can best then invest those dollars into employees and partners to help make sure that we are providing that living wage. So that is something where I would see, as chair, I would be continuing to work closely with all of you on.
Thank you. Our next question is from Tim Ludwig.
Yeah, honestly, my question was really related to the last one, but I guess I'll just say, yeah, I work for an agency that was contracted, that's contracted from the county, TPI, and I'm really involved with Local 88, TPI Workers United, and yeah, I think that's the feeling that we have, is like we provide a service for the county, yet we don't make wages that close to them, and we're losing a lot of people to that. So would you, I guess you just did, but I guess that was my question, would you commit to raising the wages so we, for us agencies that are providing services for the county, we get paid like as if we work for the county, because we are essentially.
Yeah, I mean, this is absolutely, like I said, I mean, I feel I kind of answered the question before, but I appreciate you, Tim, sharing your story, your perspective. Like, this is an issue that we absolutely have to do better at the county level. And as chair, I'm committed to working with all of you on what that looks like and how we can get there in a sustainable way.
Great. The next question is from Marsh Santoro, and the question is, what is your position on sweeps of homeless camps?
Oh man, so I don't understand the point of sweeps in that when there's no place for people to go. Like the one thing that I will say, I live, I mean, I talked all about living in East Portland, and so I'm really, I go by 205 all the time. I am concerned when people are living so close to areas that are unsafe, where there have been car accidents, where people have been hit by cars, killed by cars. So I am, I do think that we need to do a better job of making sure that people are camping in places that are safe, and also, places where they have access to better amenities than they do now, right? Like housing. I saw Tim, your housing is a human right, right? Like, so is going to the bathroom and having access to water, right? And so, so I think we need to do and this is a conversation that I'm really interested in engaging with you as providers, with people who have with lived experience of like, what does it look like to have a better solution for folks who are living outside, that they feel safer, that they feel like they have the things that they need to survive safely. And so, so I will say that, like, just sweeping from people from one place to another, that is really harmful. It might be appeasing a loud segment of a neighborhood, or a loud neighborhood segment in our community, but it isn't actually. It's disrupting people. It's having people lose their possessions, and it's not even a short-term solution. It's just literally like a sweep of the problems, like from one place to another.
Thank you. The next question is from Sahad McKelvey. You can go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you, Leslie. And again, thank you, Commissioner Vega Pederson, for being with us today. Question that I have, you touched a little bit in your open just about the need for an effective shelter system. Could you elaborate a little bit more on what the ideal shelter landscape would look like in your mind, and what the synergy would be between that ideal shelter landscape and the affordable housing landscape that we're all hoping to see as well?
Yeah, I mean, so the only true like long-term solution is getting people into housing, and oftentimes, supportive housing. And so that is like the North Star that I have. I do feel like we need to do a better job of getting people safely off the streets into other shelters temporarily. And that can look, that looks different, right? Not everybody. I've opened a couple of shelters here in my district in the last 5 years, and some people really do well in that kind of congregate environment, but there's a lot of people who do not, right? And so we need to have alternatives to folks. We also have like a We Shine mini village that's opening up here. We have a Safe Rest village that's opening at Menlo Park. I've done a lot of work over the past several years of having conversations with the service providers, with community members, with the folks with lived experience about what that's going to look like, what it's going to mean, and what the communications are, when you have a shelter in place. But I think we need to look at other means of living outside, including self-governed, right, like self-managed camps for folks too. I think that. So I'm open to the alternatives, and I do think we need to do something in the short term that helps get more people safely into more of a shelter situation than we have right now. But like, that is like a short-term investment. It cannot be an ongoing investment. It really is just, I think, responding with the right amount of resources to the impacts of COVID, when people have been and the ongoing housing inaffordability that we have in this region too. This isn't exactly, this is beyond the scope of your question, but as Multnomah County Chair, even though Multnomah County does not build housing, like I think the chair should have a loud voice in talking about the need for more housing being built, right? Like we need to be talking about our next housing bond. We need to be talking about lifting restrictions from just being able to build density in general in Multnomah County. We are under building in this state by tens of thousands of units a year, and we are never going to be able to make this an affordable place to stay for anyone if we don't build more housing. And so I'm like pretty hardcore on that. I did not grow up in Oregon. So the whole land use things are a little, were a little different for me when I heard about it. But I do think that we have, especially in Portland, like we can be doing a lot more around density and building those kinds of the housing stock that we need. So I'm willing to work with the city, with Metro, with the state on how we're able to do that successfully. And I know that this is actually an issue that they're going to be looking at in the legislature in the next session too.
Thank you. This question comes from Madison Reeling Mullins from William Temple House. And the question is, how will you work to ensure true mental health and disability needs are being addressed in Portland Metro?
Yeah, I mean, we have a huge, the system is really broken when it comes to mental health, when it comes to behavioral health issues. I think the investments that the county have made in addressing parts of the system that we do control have been really positive over the last few years. The Downtown Behavioral Health Resource Center is going to be kind of a game changer downtown for giving people a safe place to be during the day, of giving people an address, providing the kind of shelter situation for people who haven't been successful in other shelters because of more acute behavioral health issues, as well as having transitional housing on the top floors. Like this is a really big need. I want to, this is going to be opening this fall. I think we need to be looking at how we're going to be building the similar one in East County for the needs of folks out there. I do think that, Oregon comes in dead last when it comes, and I know I'm not telling you guys anything you don't know. We come in dead last when it comes for, number of people experiencing behavioral health issues, and compared and with the investment we are actually making at the state level in those issues. And so advocating at the state level for those kinds of investments, again, as Multnomah County Chair, will be one of my, will be a huge focus of mine. I have the endorsements of state legislatures like Rob Notes, who is really invested in finding a solution to our behavioral health situation and committed to finding dollars like the $500 million from the last couple of sessions to do this. And so we need to be working to make sure we're getting those dollars into the community in the right way. I think we also have to be holding our healthcare partners accountable for how they are providing services, and they're providing support in getting people who are eligible to be insured onto the Oregon Health Plan, so that they can have access to those services. So, and this is something where I think that Multnomah County can do to dedicate more resources to doing this through community-based organizations. So those are just a few of the ideas that I have. I do have, actually, I don't think it's posted yet, but we're having my behavioral health platform is going up later this week on my website. That's more in depth than what we have now. And so I encourage all of you to take a look at that as well.
Thank you. The next question is from Mandy Campos from Janus Youth Programs. And the question is, what would you say are the differences and similarities of homelessness and housing instability in our city? What would be your approach to addressing both?
I'm sorry, I got a little weird bleep. Well, could you say that again?
Oh, sure. Yeah. What would you say are the differences and similarities of homelessness and housing instability in our city? And what would be your approach to addressing both?
So homelessness and housing instability, what are the differences between those two, right? So, I think if you look at the percentage of people who are considered housing unstable, it is a huge number of folks in our population. It's people who are rent burdened, people who are severely rent burdened, who don't necessarily, who are spending 50% or more on their rent each month, and whose the fact that we've had 30% increase in rents in the last year is really, forcing them to choose between staying housed and maybe paying some of their other bills, right? So I think that there is a difference. I think that's the difference. And then folks, so housing, instability is really folks who are at risk of becoming homeless, or people who are have only temporary situations and not long-term solutions for permanency. And so I do think that this is where long-term housing vouchers, helping people to be able to stay in places and have the assurance and stability that they are going to be getting subsidies to help them stay housed is going to be really important for that piece. I think that when it comes to folks who are housing instability, really it is mostly like housing and affordability that's the issue. It's not necessarily folks who are experiencing acute behavioral health issues who may need more support to be successful in housing. So and one thing I will say,
Thank you.
oh, sorry, I just one last thing. I will never say that I am the expert on this area too. So I really am looking forward to like continuing this conversation and learning from your experience and your perspective on things as well. I was able to get big things done when it comes to climate change, when it comes to early education, when it comes to, economic justice issues without necessarily being the expert in that, but I am an expert in being able to bring people together to come up with that solution and then getting that solution in place. And so that's where I see that this conversation is the beginning of a strong partnership, in my role as county chair.
Thank you. So at this time, all of the questions that both were submitted before the session and from the chat have been answered. So it's kind of open forum if anybody has any questions that they want to ask. I can go ahead and unmute you, or you can drop them in the chat. If there are no more questions, I'll pass it back to Lydia. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And again, we would like to thank Jessica Vega Pederson for being here. And we ask you, Jessica, do you have any final words or final thoughts that you want to share with us today?
I just want to thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for taking the time to have me here today to listen to a little bit about my story, about what I want to do. As I said, before, I really look forward to stepping into this role of county chair in partnership with you. Our voters have made an unbelievable commitment to addressing our issues of housing and houselessness long term. And that is something that we should all be really proud of and grateful for. And now it's up to us working together to be able to put that money into action to make sure that we are addressing the really critical needs of the humanitarian crisis on our streets. I have a very deep and broad coalition of people who are supporting me in this race for county chair. I went through some of my endorsers before. You can, I'll put my website in the chat. I encourage you guys to check me out, check out more details on my issues, who's endorsing me, who's supporting me. And if you feel moved to, you can go ahead and sign up as an endorser or make a donation. But this work, I'm doing this work because I really think that the issues that Multnomah County is taking on are the most critical issues in our society today. It's why I moved over from the state level to working at the local level, because this is where the rubber meets the road in terms of serving people and being able to put government to work for folks. And I know very well that that doesn't happen just with our county people, that our community partners are a huge piece of that as well. And so I just appreciate the time today. I hope you, if you have further questions, feel free to reach out. I'll put my the email in there as well, but feel free to follow up with additional questions too.
We actually did get a couple of questions in these last moments, if you wouldn't mind. So one question that came in through the chat was, what is your approach to attracting businesses to Multnomah County?
I think that so some of the things I don't have control over, like we have amazing natural beauty, right? Like those are things that attracted me to Multnomah County when I moved here in the 90s. I also moved here because it was an affordable place for me to live, and that there were lots of job opportunities for somebody who is just getting started in the career. So I think that making sure that we are continuing to invest in things that keep us affordable, that we are investing in things that provide those job opportunities and those business opportunities for folks. I think we're on attracting businesses to Multnomah County. That's a really interesting ways to phrase that. I do think we need to do support of our businesses that are here, and a lot of businesses have been negatively impacted by COVID. And so one of the things I'm going to be putting in the budget this session is asking for dollars to help our East County businesses who don't get Prosper Portland dollars to have a fund for some of the impacts that COVID, as well as ongoing like graffiti and theft, has had on them. But I do think that we need to continue to be a welcoming place that people want to be. I think preschool for all, honestly, is a great thing to attract businesses. I think the fact that, people will know that their employees will have free quality preschool for their kiddos is like a really great thing. And I think we can expand that by hopefully moving at the state, if not federal level, on broader childcare supports for folks as well. I am cognizant that we need to attract businesses to Multnomah County. We also have to grow businesses in Multnomah County. And I think we can do a better job of supporting more women and BIPOC community members of being entrepreneurs, of starting their own businesses, of providing supports for that too. So that's another piece when we talk about like, how do we have businesses grow in Multnomah County? That's a piece of it that I want to make sure gets mentioned and has investment as well.
Our last question is from Tim. And Tim, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, thank you for coming here today and your responses and stuff. I did have one question, and I guess it does deal with something that's outside of your control, but I'm always wondering how what the potential relationships would be, or how you would work with the surrounding counties, particularly like having worked directly with houseless folks, like as a housing case manager, a wellness access person. Like a lot of the people I've worked with, when they leave the county, which can just happen by falling asleep on the train, they deal with a lot of, they deal with some of the issues here in Multnomah County too, but like Washington County in particular, Clackamas County can be really hostile to houseless folks. And when I'm trying to get someone into housing and they have like this criminal record, a lot of it's always have to go, like 9 out of 10 times it goes to like they got court case in Washington County, or they got probation over in Washington County or Clackamas County. And so I'm wondering how you would work with the surrounding counties to help people here who we're connected to them by train and whatnot. So
yeah, no, that's a great question. And there are differences in counties. I was just reading this morning that a majority of the Clackamas County Board voted to stop participating in the Reimagine Oregon work because they do not agree with the defund the police component of that, even though other people on the board are like, I'm not saying that I want to defund the police, but I am saying that Reimagine Oregon work is work that we need to be participating in as a government responsive to our community. So there are just some basic fundamental differences, and but that doesn't stop me as county chair or as a county commissioner from having to engage in that work with our elected counterparts and trying to address big issues, including COVID response, right? Like that was one where I think the tri-counties worked really well together. I will say that, when you're talking about the issue of like you fall asleep on the bus and then or the MAX and you end up in a different town, a different county, the Multnomah County Sheriff's Department now has the responsibility for managing the public safety on our transit system, on the TriMet system. And that is something that we at the board put a lot of attention to, what that agreement was going to look like, what it was going to mean, asking for, like report backs, like very, often on how things are going, what's being hired, what new programs have been implemented. And so if there are issues that you guys are hearing about on TriMet specifically, let us know, because that is something that I think all of us on the board, frankly, are very, want to make sure that this is successful and that public safety is being handled at TriMet in a positive way. For the broader public safety piece, we don't have a lot of control over what the Beaverton police or the Clackamas sheriffs, folks are going to respond. So unfortunately, I don't have a lot to that, but I do think it's, something where, again, like at the county chairs level, having those conversations, having those discussions about what's happening and how we can, really be trying to get aligned in how we're responding to issues is important. And then I think it's also holding Washington and Clackamas County accountable for their parts of the supportive housing services measure, where they need to be building their capacity in their systems with their governments, with their providers to provide services for folks that are experiencing houselessness that need support for housing. And so, that's going to be part of this larger work as we're implementing supportive housing services too.
Yeah, thank you. That was our last question.
Well, thank you guys all so much. These are really great questions, and I really appreciate this conversation.
Again, thank you everyone for coming, and thank you so much, Jessica Vega Pederson, for being here and giving us an opportunity to hear more about your position. We will make sure that the recording is available for everyone regarding this cafe. And if there's no other questions or no other thoughts that you want to share with us, Jessica Vega Pederson, we will wish everyone a wonderful and great day. And thank you guys all for coming. Again, thank you so much for being here with us. It's been such an honor and a privilege to hear what you've shared with us today.
Thank you, Lydia. Thank you, Leslie. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.